Hi, welcome to one of our RSK kindergarten sessions. Today we're going to be looking at the national bird of India, the peacock, and how to make a handprint marker drawn peacock. You're going to need some colorful markers in sort of the yellow, purple, blue, and green shades. You're also going to be wanting to use a brayer and a plate. And then of course I have some blue, white, green, and yellow washable tempera paints and a sheet of cardstock. So peacocks are mostly blue, so I'm going to start with a base of blue washable tempera paint, just a little bit on there. I don't want it to be too dark, so I'm going to add a touch of white, and it doesn't take a lot because white's a strong color. And I want it to have just a little bit of teal, so a smidge of green when I'm working in there. I'm going to take my brayer, I'm going to sort of mix those colors together to see if they're what I'm looking for or if they're light enough. And if it's not light enough, if I'm looking at it and thinking that's still a pretty dark blue, I might add a little bit more white to it. You could also mix this up in a cup and then spread it out on a paper plate if that's what you have available to you in your home. So my blue is getting a little lighter, just a smidge more. And I might add a touch of yellow to add some more of that tealish green color. Peacocks have lots of different little colors in them. They are what we call iridescent, so when the light reflects off of some of their feathers, you see lots of other rainbow colors in there. So now I have kind of a blue-gray. I think I went just a hint more blue. And when you're coming up with your own colors, it is a little bit experimental. You kind of add a little bit of color here, a little bit of color there, but the key is to keep it a little bit because you don't want to make big changes all at once, and then you don't want to end up with paint, a lot of extra paint that you're going to have to just throw away when you're finished. So I'm going to set my brayer to the side where it's not going to get anything dirty. I'm going to bring over my sheet of paper, and you'll notice this little tray is big enough for me to put my hand down flat. So I'm just going to put my hand down flat and pick it back up, and yes, my hand did get sticky, didn't it? I didn't get enough in the middle, so I'm going to push just in the middle this time. I want it to be totally covered up. So now I have a sticky hand, which is okay for this project. It's what we're going for. And then we have this, I'm going to spread my fingers really wide, and I'm just going to go straight down and gently push on the paper. And I'm going to carefully lift my palms back up, and it's starting to make kind of a peacock. See, back here is where the tail is going to be. And we have his body and his wing, and then his head is going to come up here when it dries. Let this dry for a few minutes before we get to the markers. You can clean up your other supplies while you're waiting. So for adding on to our peacock, remember they have those beautiful eyes if you've seen a peacock before. So first I'm going to start with doing those eyes. So it's an oval with another oval inside. And I'm going to put these down in between my fingerprints that I have on here. Just like that. Then I'm going to go back and I'm going to color in just part of it. You can copy my colors or you can come up with your own colors. It's kind of up to you. And then while I have my purple out, I'm going to add the purple feathers in the middle. So I do a diagonal line or a sideways, kind of a crisscross type line. Almost like the letter V, right? Except I'm only drawing parts of that letter. Kind of like that, right? Now I'm going to switch my color to it for a little bit to a lighter green color to add some feathers that go up and around the top. So these ones will be sort of like when you do the sunshine pattern around in a circle. You want the lines to sort of follow that same direction, almost like it's radiating out of the fingertips at the top. You notice when I'm adding the green lines at the bottom here, I'm being careful not to go on top of the eyes that I drew over here that go in the wings, because those are going to be a whole nother section. But I am going to do the partials down in here, because now I can switch to my yellow marker, and then around those eyes I can sort of do another little sunshine burst pattern, almost like those are a whole separate feather in there. And they can overlap a little bit because feathers overlap on birds. That's what keeps them cool and keeps them warm. And if you want, you can fill in those little eyes with some of that yellow in there. I'm also going to add just a little bit of yellow at the tips of the feathers to sort of equal out the color. You like to spread that color around. And then of course over here, we're going to have his beak and his feet. So his feet are going to be two straight lines, or they're parallel to each other and they are vertical. And then we can give him a couple of little toes. They're like the little letter V, or a greater than and less than sign that we've put down here for his feet. I'm going to switch over to my darker blue, and up here where it's dry, I'm going to do a couple more of those eyes at the top of the big tail feathers, just like we saw when we looked at the picture of our peacock. It's almost where your fingertips would go, isn't it? So it's a big oval and then a little oval. And then we color in the big oval, but not the little one. And then up here, peacocks have those pretty little head dresses with a curly. So I'm going to go up here and do 3 little spirals and an eye. He doesn't have an eye yet, does he? And then I'm going to switch over to my purple. I'm going to connect where the neck should be. And if you want, you could even add a feather pattern. A feather pattern is doing a bunch of loops, kind of like this, over and over again. Or you could think of it like a bunch of letter U's, or the letter W, or some upside down bump, 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 bump to fill that in. You could do the same thing over here with his wing. Just do some longer ones, and then up at the top, you could do the U pattern again to look like the feathers are layered in on there. I'll pick one more color to add just a few little accents here and there, where you might find some really fuzzy feathers or down feathers. And then to go back in and just do some short, tiny, little darker feathers. We like that layered look. It makes our peacock's feathers look really full. That means like he has a whole bunch of feathers on him to make him extra special and grand. Once he's finished, you can proudly display him for everyone to see.